Kano. I'm the QA NCOIC for the regiment, as well as Sergeant First Class Schmidt. We're your QA section for today. Sergeant First Class Reeds is also part of our section. He's on an SAB to Michigan right now in 1st Battalion. So what this meeting here is going to be our quarterly QA meetings that we do. So what this is as we're ramping up for the road to accreditation in 2018, the QA section will be putting on blocks of instruction like this to help prepare us for that upcoming accreditation. So this block of instruction today is going to be on our instructor binders. So the people here, the majority of you, are instructors. I've also invited other people from other sections because I am doing a small block here as well on the new AEAS standards that came out in May of 2016 as well. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to kind of judge and see where you guys are at as far as your knowledge of the QA section and also the AES standards. So we're going to do a Kahoot activity right now. So if you want to take out your phones, you can actually join in. It's a 10-question, what I call like a pre-test. And if you guys have done this before, a sergeant, it's not showing up on the screen. Sergeant Wimmer. If you want to go to kahootit.com, it'll pull up here in just 1 second. Go to kahootit.com. K-A-H-O-O-I-T. Excuse me, K-A-H-O-O-T.IT. Or if you Google it, there you go. And then once you get there, type in that number right there. And while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to keep talking over it a little bit. This is Kahoot's an example of a free software or an app that you can use in your classrooms with your soldiers. It's a great way to do a pre-test on that and to also have kind of some class fun with different subjects that you guys are discussing. The nice thing about this, like I said, it's free, it's interactive. It kind of reminds me of playing at Buffalo Wild Wings, like their bar trivia. So you can make your own questions and input them in there. I know some people in this room have used it before, but it's just another good example of things that you can do to enhance your learning in your classrooms.
So you show up on the screen there with your...
Yeah, whatever you put for your name is going to show up there too. So. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Luke Skywalker.
Oh, I'm in.
Maybe about 1 more minute to get logged in, then we're going to get started.
That start feels scared.
Anyone need help logging in?
Yep. The answer is C.
Maybe. What's the door prizes?
Sergeant Ashland, you had that plan, right? You're playing for
Just bind
Brian.
now.
All right, we're gonna get started. So watch the screen. It's pretty interactive. You'll soon figure it out. There'll be the questions, and you punch in the correct answer. The faster you push it in, the higher your score will be. But make sure you get it right, because you can't. If you make a mistake, you can't go back. So you'll figure it out.
Get ready.
Ready? Question 1. Oh, I can't see it.
So the corresponding symbol.
Oh. I totally got it.
My phone is expiring.
Says I'm a pure genius.
The music is epic.
You're a genius machine.
Super top. Okay, I jumped way too fast. That's what it's saying to me.
And you can set the time limit for as short or as long, so I put it for 30 seconds. So there's your correct answer. Oh, there we go. Army Enterprise Accreditation Standards.
There was the E. There was no C.
Answer.
Oh, that's cheater.
I didn't expect him to do well.
How many?
Stand there.
Let's get the square. It's green. It's the first thing on arm.
I was one on.
Oh, there you go.
That was correct. Good for you. So there's arms. Nice.
Hi. Good job.
Number 8. Try something different this time. I'm going with C. Hey.
I got that one. I got one right.
I got one right too.
I don't have SharePoint.
Computer's dead. Don't look at me. That's all we above.
Pretty sure it's not.
Hey, I got another one. Yay.
Still in place.
I think that's Army speech. And it's the only one that's different.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Skywalker gaining ground here.
Oh, there's only one.
Yep. Gotta pick it up. I'm on a one.
3 more questions left.
Really?
Oh, shit.
Dude,
that's what I did.
Yeah.
Damn it. Oh, there goes my streak.
You're fired. Snap.
Really?
It's a true statement.
Trick question.
Wait.
I'm in 17 place.
All right. On the home stretch.
Answer streak.
Of course, man.
Of course.
Did you get that, guys?
I rallied at the end.
Emery. So as you can see right here, this was just a way, basically the information we're putting out for you today. I wanted to just see where you guys were at with some of this information and make it fun and be an icebreaker and whatnot. But this is something you can try implementing in your classes as well if you when you're teaching throughout this year. So. Okay, so purpose of today is it's to talk about our instructor binders. I asked you to bring your instructor binders today because part of our breakout sessions, I'm going to have you looking through them as well as a group and individually as well. So I thought it'd be good to just actually dust them off and get them out here too to look through. Again, as I mentioned in the Kahoot right there, each instructor is responsible for their binders. For those of us who have taught a cycle already, we know how sometimes putting these binders together can be a lot of work. It's tedious and sometimes finding all the information. but hopefully your course managers are helping you and squaring your way and making sure that you're following the same SOP for your battalions, as well as looking at other instructors and seeing what they have in their binders and make sure everything is uniform with that. As far as storing the location, first battalion, where do you guys keep your instructor binders at? Sorry, on the desk, okay. Second battalion,
7-1.
where are they at?
A locked locker.
Someplace they're locked. What about during, when you actually have a teach going on, where do the binders go with then?
A locked locker.
They stay there? And then what are you putting on your visitor table, or how are you annotating that if someone comes to your classroom and wants to see an instructor binder?
There's a memo.
Okay. So making sure we have all those things in place so that when we do go through accreditation, or we're having VIPs or anyone else coming in to take a look at these things, that they can find them easily. And again, in our last accreditation cycle, that was one thing that the accreditation team did go and look specifically at our instructor binders. And for the most part, they were really squared away, but they did find some discrepancies in there. Now, luckily, we had the opportunity to make some fixes on those and changes. But again, that comes down to where an individual can really have an impact on the entire accreditation by not having something that's their responsibility ready to go. So just making sure, that's why we're having things like this. So the QA reps and course managers shouldn't spec too much prior to course start. So for example, we got 68 whiskeys. We're ready to shoot here in February for a course. So the QA team's planning to come in January. We'd like to see the binders for the 68 whiskeys. So hopefully now December, course managers, QA reps, if you can at least be spot checking their binders as well too, to make sure that they have all the information in there that's needed. What we've done in a good kind of takeaway from the past is when you find a discrepancy in there, grab the post-it note, write it on that page and put it on there so that the soldier can go back and fix it and put it in there as a reference. That seems to work really well. Also too, what I have in front of you is our checklist that we use, so we'll be going through that as well, just like have another document that's kind of an easy way. Now the one I've given you is a general one that we use, and everything's different depending on POI and the courses, but it is something that's a guideline to help you making sure that's right. Also too, that they're in good condition. When you come in there and you see a binder that the tabs are ripped out or there's the binder itself is in bad shape, make sure if that's the case, talk to your supply and getting some different binders and have those should be really sharp, professional looking items that are easily, you can look at them and so when someone opens it up, they're like, oh yeah, this soldier's squared away, they got all their stuff and it looks like it should. So going into that, why is it important as well to know that instructor binders are serviceable and ready to go? Because one of our AAS standards, so for example, in Criterion 3 Bravo, can someone read that for me, please?
Criterion 3 Bravo, institution establishes and documents associated course requisites, instructor certification requirements, and resource requirements.
Can someone read 5 Charlie for me, please?
Criterion 5 Charlie, the QA organization or POC conducts evaluation of all component courses over a 3-year period against course-related accreditation standards to include evaluation of instructor and student records in accordance with its
And then 6 Delta.
Institution maintains required faculty certification/qualification records. All instructors must have a record regardless of their assigned teaching responsibility.
So definitely this one, Criterion 6 Delta, that's, I think, talks the most about the instructor binder, and one of the ways that we prove and show as an institution that you as instructors are qualified to be up there in the podium and teaching. The other ones as well too, it's just, again, showing through the different standards where and how we are in production as well. So what I want to do right now is just give you a quick, in that Kahoot activity, I talked about the QA SharePoint. And since I've taken over, I've tried to make it more user-friendly and so that anyone can access our QA page and get some of the same documents. I don't want people going, so when we show up for an SAD and be like, gotcha, like, this is the document we're going to use. I want you to see already everything we're doing is very transparent so that really when we come to do an SAD that you're already, ready to go and have seen everything already. So I'm going to pull up the SharePoint right now. So while I'm doing that right now, if you guys want to just take a few minutes and discuss with the person next to you, start looking through those binders a little bit and the tabs I've given you, and start sharing with the person next to you while I pull up the SharePoint right now.
Don't look at me like that. I told you what's wrong. You have a lot of stuff but if it's your second, what you're doing, this is my it's not your house.
All right, take about 1 more minute. Hey, sorry, I'm wondering.
These are always ones that catch up.
Open up Internet Explorer.
We're not quarterly.
All right, about 10 more seconds. All right. Now your attention back here, please. So again, when we go to the SharePoint, you're going to be starting here with the QA button right here. So go ahead, click on that.
I was looking for the green one.
And what I've done to break it down in here, I have our 2012 or 2015, and everything that we're currently using right now, I want people to go through the 2018, because that's our focus, is getting prepared for that. The other ones are archived information, so that's something, you'll be surprised the stuff I found on there that was still on there from our last accreditation, because I thought was good, and I kept into those ones as well, too, for us to reference back to. Once you're in there, I'm trying to make it where there's the folders are named, what they are, so that if you click on them, you know what it is, except for like the miscellaneous stuff that I can help. But for example, let's just go through, let's start right up here with AEAS. So again, we mentioned in the Kahoot activity that in May of 2016, we took how many standards do we have previous to this? We have 7 right now. How do we have before?
13?
In the 20s.
23. $1.
We had, I believe it was over, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was in the 20s. But anyways, taking those standards and compressed them down to 7. If you go into the, right here is on this one, this is the actual standards right here, so go ahead and open that. So if you're ever looking to say, where are the standards at, where do I find these ones, the ones that TradeOp's giving us, I put them right there for you to look at. So once you get into those, that's when you can start to scroll through them. Now, what it does is this huge list, there's all these criteria under them. So yeah, there's only 7 standards, but within those standards, sometimes there's 25, 30 criteria that are to go with it. So it does mimic the old standards that we had, just the way it's organized a bit different. If that's having trouble loading, you can pump it back up. The other ones I think are really helpful here too is the rubrics.
And it's a big document, isn't
rubrics.
Well, no,
The standards.
that's why it's taking a really long time to load.
So is that when, as the rubrics load up to those, I think that's a really helpful one to look at because that's where I break down where this document in front of the QA instructor binder checklist is located in there, as well as a room setup. So when we come in to do an SAV on a room, it breaks down some examples of what a good classroom would look like when it's set up. Yep, you can jump back out of there. Okay, so here's the actual standards themselves. So when you have some time for some light readings, start to familiarize yourself with those. But what my task is right now is you have QA reps for each battalion. In our QA monthly sync meetings, our goal is to get stuff out to the QA reps who then can disseminate it down. Because I know when I've sat in your shoes as instructors, I've said, hey, so what, who cares about this stuff? I just want to worry about when I'm teaching the next cycle. Like all this stuff is just whatever. So what my goal is to make it as simple as possible and get it down to your level so that you can do, as an instructor, just worry about what you need to do. We've also broken down in these rubrics that are going to take a while to load because of the way we're running through things
Which
right now.
rubric do you want to pull up right now?
That rubric would have been great.
Which one? There's a lot.
Back up one more, please. Like those, right? So if you click on one, for example, and then the first one. So these are the ones that come to us from TRADOC that shows who is responsible for each of these items. So that's what I'm saying though, as instructors, sometimes it gets overwhelming to start looking through all of these things and knowing where when I fit in. So that's again where the QA reps are going to do that. Let's back out. This is just, it's too slow.
Oh, I'm in. It's right here.
Let's back out. Back out again.
That's not much.
Keep going. So what's best is if you guys could take some time on your own to just peruse through these things and talk to your QA reps as well about going back and forth. Some other things that I've got in here that I think are helpful is this QA checklist. Let's go to that one, please. Okay, so click on the QA classroom checklist. So this one is going to have where this instructor binder checklist is located. It's going to have for the rooms. It's going to have all these things that as an instructor, what I always wished I had, just give me a list of what I need to have set up for my classrooms, my instructor binders, when I'm going through it. That's going to be helpful to me. So that's what that's going to be right there. Any questions so far on this? I know I want to be cognizant of everyone's time here too, and I'm sorry it's taking longer to load up things. I wish it was going faster. But, yeah.
With the binders, there's a lot of PII. Can you white out our social and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. That's what's really important to look forward to, and that's why we're keeping them secured though as well too.
Ours are not possible.
All right, so that's something as a battalion that you might want to take a look at. And here's the other thing too: look at all the information. Time goes into those things, and we've had instructor binders over the years that have gone missing because even like things like today. Hey, I took mine out to bring it over there, and then I set it down someplace. So this is where maybe course managers might develop like a check-in, check-out thing for binders. So when they're all, you put a folder in there saying what thing is taken out or whatever. But figure out something like that to keep tasks because there's nothing worse than building one of these things and then having to redo it again after that. So here, for example, like I said, so here's that document showing what you have in front of you. If you click on the visitor book one, this is, I think, a really nice one too. When going through your visitor books, again, every course, every POI is going to be slightly different, but this at least gives you some example of what should be in a visitor book. All right, classroom. Click on the classroom one, please, the tab. Same thing. Talking about is it just the way it's set up, signage, values poster, OPSEC, all these different things. And we're going to keep adding to these as we see getting more information and whatnot, but we just try to take things from the experience that we've had as instructors and put them there so they're easy to find. All right, let's go back to the presentation. That's kind of an overall arching though of that QA page. If you have time, take a look to their QA reps especially should become more familiar with it and they can disseminate from there too. Let's go back to the PowerPoint, please. Okay. So, what my plan though the instructor checklist right now. You've been kind of talking to the person next to you. What I'd like to do is take there's 5 minutes right now and actually get up. Chances are you're probably sitting by people that are in the same, teach the same course as you. I'd like you to go to somebody else that you maybe don't know in here. Show them your instructor card, and you can, and then swap out a little bit and talk through a little bit how you guys are doing it, vice versa. Let's take 5 minutes to do that, and then we'll come back to the final part.
Probably find that on the drive.
Specific. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Couldn't miss this Christmas party. I think I know where the issue is. Right.
I don't know why they So they actually have anything in there?
That's why I support it. We don't have it.
That or the safety brief for 90 days, but that's
Are any post-it notes?
Oh, 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes.
Oh, big
One thing I know is the difference
it's like a what? I got a 129. Oh, yeah.
Still no. But it's
It's quite a minor. You got every
1 more minute.
review, 1 minute study with her. Oh, it must be. All right.
Very good.
Find out anything?
Good as it's gonna get.
As far as it goes for now? Can one hear
All right, let's go back to our seats.
Aside from you, you have any questions?
That's my last time. Yeah, she's, which is great. So the answer in months. And
I have to go next week.
That's why we're All right. So what I want to do right now is just take just a little bit of time to share out right now. I want to just hear back from you guys, just some common themes you're seeing looking at other people's binders. Good, and also maybe some common errors that you're seeing as well. So let's share out right now. Yeah, go ahead.
I know like ours from the second battalion to first battalion, like ours are kind of tabbed out at first, like, you know, what is the but when I looked at like first battalion's ones, it was like not really a clear idea of what needs to be in it. I guess it's not like a checklist per se. You know, and then like
Maybe is that what you want? Yeah. Well, again, that's why we're kind of sharing ideas, right? We're not trying to be islands here and sharing. That's the thing. So if you feel like first battalion, if that's something that, and again, start months and months to take a look at too. You know, if that's something that makes it easier. I agree. Having it somehow a checklist in there makes it a lot easier to go, okay, I need to have this in here specifically. But also too, POI and their higher headquarters is going to stipulate that too. So that's why it's always a little, there's this gray area in this. But uniformity is definitely the key amongst the battalions. That's what you're in the sections. So yeah, good point. Yep.
I noticed a little discrepancy. They look very similar, but ours just looks a little different. It was more officer candidate instructor performance checklist. So when we watch an instructor and we're qualifying them or re-qualifying them or whatever, you know, ours is just laid out from our POR.
Yep.
So it's a little different, but the concepts are still the same.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting.
And that is, so everybody in this room that teaches something different is going to have something that's going to be different with that. So that's what's always important. And course managers especially know the ones, the QA reps know the difference between the different components and how those fit into there for that. Yep, good points. What else? What's some other common errors or things that people have been instructing a while? What's some problems that we sometimes have that we can share with some newer instructors? Yeah.
The armors tend to have a much lower PQ score than the novels. I don't know if that's I don't all three.
I can change that.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
I know like for mine, like I'm missing some updated stuff. You know, just making sure that I get things updated as the year progresses. You know, like even when it comes to like our quarterly evals or performance deals that we do like semi-annually.
Yep.
I know I haven't put mine in there from like August, so just little things like that sometimes we forget to do.
Exactly. And here's, from my experience, being an instructor and then just being the QA section, when we come in to look at binders, it's the most common things that we find is the credentials being expired, driver's licenses, things like that. APFT hasn't been updated. You've taken the APFT, but your card hasn't been updated in there. Height, weight, we just should have done that this month, semi-annually, weigh in with that. The 1059s, with like FIFIC now coming out, getting that, if people are going through that, updating that if they need to, or if they've grandfathered into it, whatever the case is with that. Quarterly evals is probably the worst. And really for MDay, it's semi-annual, but we've pretty much taken, this is where course manager have to help me on this. We're still trying to do quarterly evals as much as possible. We're taking semi-annual. Yep. And I know second battalions did a really good job of now doing almost like murder boards and then getting everyone together and just doing these, you know, all at once to get them through. Now, first battalion, you guys are teaching all the time, so it's pretty easy to always do that. One suggestion I keep having is that when you go into a classroom, let's say you do have some downtime, jump into someone's room, grab an eval form that's in the visitor book, fill it out, give it to that instructor and get it done. That's an easy way, and then they can pop that into their instructor binder right away.
What's the requirement? Is it semi-annual or?
For MDay it is. We tried though, we try to do, if you can do quarterly, that's the ideal, that if you feel like then you're keeping up on your craft. You only teach once per year, and then you're just able to just do, that's tough. You should be doing your craft more. Now again, with meetings such as this and everything else required to it makes it difficult. So that's for course managers and leaders. I just challenge them to find as many times to get their instructors so they can have the practice and time to do this, because it's so important to us being effective instructors. Yes, okay.
One thing to consider about these quarterly or biannual email, like you decide if somebody's teaching a course, come in and grab that email sheet. They usually that's in front of students, so if I come in and find a guy who's all jacked up, I can't stop him for time to reset or do it, you know, and then I can't really give him a word or you know, because the students are there. So
Right.
what precedence in the second time is going to be that you get your biannual and a word for it. You know, obviously if you pass it once, it's going to be easier for you. And if you want to quarterly
semi-annual eval, is it to evaluate on the specific course that the binder is for, or is it to evaluate them on their ability to instruct? So like some of the people that instruct multiple courses, can an eval count across the multiple classes, or is it only for the binder?
Here's how I'll give you, like, for example, I've done presentations when I was in 2nd Battalion where I was just presenting to the regiment. I counted that as, like, I had someone do an eval for me on that and put that up there, because that was my time I was up in front, I was giving a block instruction doing that. So it wasn't specifically on an ALC course that I was teaching. Ideally, what would be best is, yes, to have it on the course that you're teaching on. And then that's what we're really going for, because that's where you're up in front of students. They're getting 1059s, they're doing, and of course, critiques on us. We want to be sharp when we're up in front of our students and know our craft well. So I would recommend
I was thinking like our instructors that have to do FIFIC, that do SGITC.
You're saying, do they need to have one for all those courses to be valid for that?
Right. You need to do a quarterly for full-time, you need to do quarterly for SGITC, quarterly for FIFIC, quarterly for your.
Not quarterly, semi-annual.
If you're full-time?
Full-time, then yeah, quarterly.
Yeah, so if you're full-time, you gotta do 12 evals in a year if you teach 3 courses. That's what I'm.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Is anyone else?
The state courses aren't gonna get
Oh yeah, that's right.
checked on. So you're taking SPICC and PCC, wants some advice for your CMS. So I got guys who teach PLC and IMSA. They need to get quarters on both walls.
So they're doing 4 quarters.
If they're
So that's what they teach. So they're just ALC instructors. Because it has to be from that POI, from what the team teacher will ask.
Yep. Good point. One last thing too, I'll leave you with. When you do those murder boards or you do those things where you get a chance, I really having as many people to watch them and sit down with the instructor afterwards and give them some really good positive feedback. And don't just because your buddies hang out afterwards. You know, make sure you're putting it all out there and documenting those things and helping them get better, because that's what makes us better as an organization, and it's going to make that person a better instructor too. So.
Another aspect of that starting KL is now that we're going to facilitating rather than instructing, you know, be a certain guys that you can both have a class, both facilitate, with all the different techniques of facilitation. He might do something that's, you know, for that same class, like, yeah, we both with blocks, you know, I'm not teaching 6 people, so it's just more tools for your kid that you can look at.
That's right. All right, so a quick check on learning. So let's see, Sergeant Anderley, who is responsible for maintaining their instructor binder?
You and me.
The instructor, right? And Sergeant Goff, who determines locations of where instructor binders are stored?
Course manager.
And let's see. Sergeant Siebel, where can you find information about instructor binders?
On the visitor table, located.
And how often do M-Day soldiers need to have an evaluation completed on them? Land. Okay. Good questions asked too, and so I put it in here as well. So your QA reps, who are these people that are going to these quarterly, or excuse me, monthly QA sync meetings? So 1st Battalion, Sergeant First Class Munson, 2nd Battalion Enzer, RTSM is Sergeant First Class Prussian. All these people have been through the accreditation process before. So that's a really positive note, and that it's a plus, and it's helpful because we do have a lot of new people that have joined our organization since our last accreditation. So to have these 3 people that are going to be working with the QA staff as well too, it's really setting us up, I think, for success with that. So that's good. All right, so kind of gone through some things quick. Your due-outs for this, again, would be to check the QA SharePoint. I'm sorry I couldn't pull up those documents quick. There's some more stuff just to familiarize with things, especially my QA reps, if they could look through that. But everyone to look through there. If you have questions, send it to your QA reps, and then that way they can bring it to our meetings, and then we can put that information flowing out with that. So, any other questions of me? All right, I'll let Chief Davis.
We'll get started at 11, so. All right.
So you could actually get on these stuff. You don't need to come in at 0.4. So now you can have this stuff.
I'm teaching you. Don't feel like it.
You cover 3 months ahead and 3 months behind.
You'll enjoy it.
It was just like the drug test that we did last month. That's what
That was fun for you, wasn't it? Hey, are we gonna do Josh?
We'll have it already.
So my favorite comment during the whole class was, well, they got